If you ask most Christians, do you want to be like Jesus? They'd probably say, of course, until they find out what that really means. Jesus renounced his privileges and humbled himself to the point of permitting his own death. Unless we do the same, we will never reach the lost floating on the sea of relativism around us. Today, more about what it means to take the cross into the world. Stay with us. From Chicago's Moody Church, this is Running to Win with Dr. Erwin Lutzer, whose clear teaching helps us make it across the finish line. Today, in his message on the cross, our challenge before a watching world, Erwin Lutzer is in Philippians chapter 2, explaining how Jesus' appearance in the world of men runs counter to all other religions.
You know, the contrast with other religions is explosive. In other religions, you have many instances of somebody who's a man who wants to be God. In fact, we have people on earth like that. You know, there is that story of a woman who speaks at Bible conferences. She got onto a plane and she was going through her briefcase and checking some, and the woman next to her said, who do you work for? And she said, not knowing exactly who to say, she said, God. And the other woman says, yeah, I work for a guy like that too. We have lots of people who want to be God, and the Romans, they took an emperor and they said, let's call him God. I know of no religion in history, many religions where a man aspires to be God, but no religion where God aspires to be a man. And that's what happened in Christianity. Imagine that. In the appearance of a man, unrecognized, the appearance of God, the appearance of a man. There's another way to describe that, and that is to say that it involves a change of roles from victor to victim, from victor to victim. Notice it says, last part of verse 8, he was obedient, and by the way, there he is in heaven always giving orders. Now he's on earth and he has to take them. He was obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. There are many ways to die, many ways to be put to death. You can be stoned, but to be stoned, you keep your clothes on. Rock hits you, you finally fall over. They throw a few more on you, and you're gone. That's a possibility. Crucifixion was reserved as the nasty, cruel way to do it. It's not only cruel physically to hang on the cross and to have to endure that, it was also cruel emotionally and spiritually because it was so shameful, usually crucified naked, gawking. Today people say, well, I want to die with dignity. This was not death with any kind of a dignity. In fact, it says in the Scripture, cursed is everyone who hangs upon a tree. Therefore, it was an awful way to die. I mean, we're talking about blood. We're talking about smells. We're talking about shame. And that, my friend, is Jesus, Son of God, King, Lord. Can you believe it? Jesus went from victor to victim. Can you imagine on that day what happened? He is the one, who limits Satan and gives Satan the parameters and tells Satan what he can and can't do. Satan is always subject to God. But on that day, Jesus said, I'm going to let you be in control so far as this is concerned. Can you imagine Jesus Christ staring in the very face of evil on that day and saying, today you win. Go ahead. Do it. When he is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And he lays aside his rights, he lays aside his glory, he lets it all pass, and what he says is, I am willing to do even that. Get it done. And he's King, and he's God, and he's Lord. What are some of the clear implications of what it means for us to live out the cross? I think of two. First of all, of course, This great reversal of values reminds us that God's way up is down. God values humility. He values humility. Where do you see that today? Where do you see the surrender of our rights? Where do you see that kind of humility that says, yes, I wouldn't have to do it, but for you I will? Where does it exist? That gets to the heart of what Nietzsche was talking about, that if we want people to believe in our Redeemer, we're going to have to act redeemed. We're going to have to act like Christ, and we find it hard to do it. Augustine, the great theologian and philosopher, said that God has humbled himself, and yet man is proud. It's proud. What a commentary. And we have a lot more to be humble about than Jesus did. He had a perfect human nature. We're sinners. We're sinners. We have very little to be proud about. Actually, more accurately, nothing to be proud about. You did hear about the person who went to see a counselor and said, the older I get, the more humble I'm becoming. And the counselor said, that's good, because you have an awful lot to be humble about. Here we're talking about us as sinners. And we are proud. And God became humble. Why did Paul write this letter? Did he say, I think that there are some seminarians who need some topics for dissertations. And they're running out of things to teach over in the seminary, so I'm going to give them a passage that they can chew on for a while. Is that the implication? No. Look at why he gave it to us. He needed an illustration. Every preacher needs an illustration. Verse 3, do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit, but with humility of mind, let each of you regard one another as more important than himself. Do not merely look out for your own personal interests, but also the interests of others. Have this attitude in yourselves, which was in Jesus Christ. And that's why he wrote the passage. Because he said, what I want you to do is to have the same sense of giving. I want you to see such a reversal of values that it absolutely flies into the face of what the world is all about. The world is always trying to climb the ladder, and you're going to have to take the chute down. The world is always saying